With Super Bowl 59 just around the corner, the spotlight isn't just on the impressive legacy of one of the NFL's greatest dynasties. Instead, some are quick to blame the officiating for their success, a narrative that the Kansas City Chiefs will gladly use as fuel heading into this game. It's a story that could backfire for those who underestimate the Chiefs. So let's dive into what's at stake and more as we preview the highly anticipated rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. First, some exciting news for Chiefs fans. Head coach Andy Reid isn't retiring after the Super Bowl. He'll be back next season, as confirmed by team owner Clark Hunt. Speaking with Nate Taylor from The Athletic, Hunt said, "I know for a fact he'll be back next season." This isn't too surprising considering Reid signed a massive contract extension last offseason that runs through February 2029, which means he'll be around for at least 4 more years, barring any major health issues. Why would he leave now when he's at the helm of a dynasty and has the league's best quarterback on his roster? It's clear Reid is in no rush to step away. While coaching isn't quite the same as playing, there's still plenty of excitement for the team's other key players. Tight end Travis Kelce was asked where he sees himself in 3 years, and his answer was simple: hopefully still playing football. He's clearly not ready to hang up his cleats yet. After all, Kelce still has more than enough in the tank, and with his current contract through next year, he's going to keep playing as long as his body allows. Team owner Clark Hunt believes Kelce will return for the 2025 season, given his love for the game. But as with all players, Kelce will take the time he needs to decide his future. For now, though, Chiefs fans are hoping he'll stay on board for another season. Super Bowl Media Week has brought some lighthearted and heartfelt moments as players share stories and engage with the press. One of the highlights came from Joe Thuney, who was seen speaking Spanish, while Kareem Hunt joked about how competitive Patrick Mahomes is, saying Mahomes wouldn't even let him win at Topgolf. Harrison Butker also opened up about his journey recovering from knee surgery. But one of the most touching moments came from DeAndre Hopkins. When asked about his Super Bowl outfit, Hopkins shared an emotional story about his late father, who passed away in 1992. Hopkins explained that his father left him a mink jacket, and he vowed to wear it either to his wedding or to the Super Bowl, whichever came first. "I'm going to my dad's mink jacket, dog," Hopkins said with a smile. His story was unexpected and moving, and it makes you root for him to get that Super Bowl ring. Hopkins isn't the only veteran on the Chiefs' offense hoping for his first Super Bowl ring. Hollywood Brown and Kareem Hunt are also in the mix, and I'll be cheering for them as well. But honestly, I just want to see the Chiefs take the win and make history. If they pull off a third Super Bowl victory in a row, it would be a massive achievement, and every player on the team would get a ring. For some of the veterans, like Hopkins and Hunt, it would be a dream come true. Hunt, in particular, is grateful for the second chance he's been given with the team, and now has the opportunity to redeem himself on football's biggest stage. It's an exciting time for the Chiefs, and Super Bowl 59 promises to be one for the ages. Kareem Hunt is ready to make the most of his opportunity this Sunday, and based on how things played out in the AFC Championship game, he's likely to remain the Chiefs' primary back. Hunt led the running back room with 17 carries, while Pacheco only got 5. While the numbers might be closer this time, Hunt's vision and the fact that he's been well-rested make him the more effective option at the moment. It's not a knock on Pacheco, but he's still working his way back from an ankle injury and just hasn't been as sharp. The Chiefs' running game isn't exactly their strength, especially when compared to the Eagles, who have Saquon Barkley in their backfield. Kansas City ranks 30th in explosive run rate and dead last in rush yards after contact per carry. Despite those numbers, it's crucial that the Chiefs find some success on the ground to take pressure off their passing game and keep the Eagles' defense from focusing solely on Mahomes' arm. Look for Mahomes to scramble more in this game, especially with the offensive line shaping up as it is. Joe Thuney will once again be at left tackle, with Sendo playing left guard. This means Sendo will likely be the weak link on the line. He's allowed a 7% pressure rate, so he's going to need to hold up against either Jalen Carter or Milton Williams. Carter has racked up 73 pressures this year, while Williams has 50. Both are formidable, so Sendo has his work cut out for him. Meanwhile, Thuney will face off against Josh Sweat, while Jawan Taylor will have his hands full with Nolan Smith Jr., who leads the Eagles in the playoffs with 4 sacks. It's clear that the Eagles' defensive line isn't quite what it was in Super Bowl 57. Back then, they led the league with 70 sacks. This year, though, they've only managed 41 sacks, while the Chiefs are right behind them with 39. However, while the Eagles' sack total isn't as high this season, they've still been able to generate a lot of pressure. The Chiefs, on the other hand, are near the top of the league in defensive pressures with 171. The Eagles are at the bottom with just 11. It's a big difference, and one of the reasons for that is the Chiefs' aggressive blitzing strategy, doing so 31.6% of the time compared to the Eagles' 19.1%. That being said, the Eagles' secondary is one of the best in the league. They have the highest coverage grade on PFF by nearly 6 points, which is impressive, although we know PFF grades can be hit or miss. Still, the Eagles' defense ranks as the #1 scoring defense and #1 in pass defense, which makes for a tough challenge. Fortunately for the Chiefs, Mahomes has excelled against top pass defenses in the playoffs. He's 3-0 in such games, averaging 37 points per game, completing 70.8% of his passes, throwing for 2.7 touchdowns per game, and posting a passer rating of 108.5. But even with Mahomes' success, this won't be an easy matchup. The Eagles' secondary features standout rookie corners like Quinton Mitchell and Cooper D, as well as experienced players like Darius Slay and safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. The most surprising part is that linebacker Zach Bond, who has the best coverage grade on the team, has also been dominant against the run. However, Bond popped up on the injury report late last week with a groin issue, so his status will be something to keep an eye on. Another thing to watch is the Eagles' defensive scheme. They primarily play zone coverage under defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. How the Chiefs adjust to this defensive style could be crucial in determining how effective their passing game will be. As I mentioned earlier this week, Patrick Mahomes has had an impressive record against Vic Fangio's defenses, going 8-0 in his career. He's beaten Fangio 6 times when he was the head coach of the Broncos and twice more when he was with the Dolphins. However, Fangio's defenses have still been a challenge for Mahomes. In fact, 2 of Mahomes' worst games in his 131 career starts have come against Fangio-led defenses. With that in mind, the hope is that players who thrive against zone coverage, like Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, and perhaps even Noah Gray, can step up and make an impact when the team needs it most. Hopkins in particular has been quiet in the playoffs lately, but I'm hopeful he'll make a few big plays in this game. Kelce, who often operates out of the slot, will likely face Cooper D. This matchup could be one of the toughest challenges of the season for D, especially when Mahomes is forced to extend the play. Kelce is known for improvising and making plays even when the play breaks down, so I'm putting my money on him making a big impact in this game. If the Chiefs can find a way to match Kelce up against a linebacker, Mahomes is going to be looking his way. Kelce has amassed a league-high nearly 4,000 receiving yards against linebackers during the Mahomes era, including the playoffs. That's over 1,400 more yards than the next closest player, George Kittle. While players like Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy could also make an impact, Hollywood's deep threat potential could face a tough challenge if matched up against Quinton Mitchell. Hollywood has blazing speed with a 4.27-second 40-yard dash, but Mitchell is right there with him at 4.33 seconds. The Eagles certainly have the speed to match up in the secondary, so it'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs adjust. One of the biggest X factors in this game will be coaching. When it comes down to it, I'm trusting Andy Reid to have a solid game plan ready to go against Vic Fangio's well-coached Eagles defense. Of course, the players will need to execute that game plan, and that will be the true key to this game. The referees are not the deciding factor, despite what some might say. In fact, during one of his Super Bowl pressers, Travis Kelce took the opportunity to ask the media a question himself. Why are you guys leaning into this whole ref thing? You know what I mean? This came after a ridiculous question was asked by a fake media member, Rich Shittenley, who somehow got press credentials. The question? Who's your favorite referee? Do you send them Christmas cards? And what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties? The absurdity of it all was off the charts. Unfortunately, this is not just about fake media members. Even Adam Schefter stirred the pot by tweeting about it before the AFC Championship game, and it's gotten so out of hand that even Roger Goodell was asked about the ref situation during his Super Bowl presser. His response? He laughed off the absurdity of the question, which, honestly, was the right move. But the ref talk is just spiraling out of control at this point. Now, with all that noise aside, I'll be keeping an eye on the matchups between the Eagles' offense and the Chiefs' defense. But one thing is for sure, the game will come down to much more than just the officials. The idea that the Chiefs are getting games rigged in their favor by the officials has been thrown around way too often. To make matters worse, NFL Referees Association Executive Director Scott Green called these conspiracy theories insulting and preposterous. With 17 officiating crews and 138 officials, it's virtually impossible for them all to secretly work together to favor one team. While I'm not here to defend referees or their inconsistent calls, the reality is that every team experiences both good and bad calls. What sets the great teams apart, like the Chiefs, is their ability to overcome bad officiating rather than making excuses. Take the Chiefs, for example. Over the last 7 seasons, they've consistently been one of the most penalized teams in the league, yet they've also been one of the most successful teams. What does that tell you? They find ways to win despite penalties. In fact, the Chiefs are ranked 26th in penalty yardage per game, meaning they actually have a negative penalty difference. That's not a team benefiting from rigged calls. That's a team with the discipline to play through the mistakes. Now let's look at the playoffs. Some people argue that the Chiefs' playoff games are rigged because the referees seem to favor them. But the truth is, Kansas City's opponents are more frequently penalized in the postseason. Since Patrick Mahomes became the starting quarterback, the Chiefs have hosted the most home playoff games of any team in the NFL. A lot of penalties against their opponents come from crowd-induced issues like false starts and delay of game calls. That's not a conspiracy. It's Arrowhead Stadium's legendary home field advantage. Another theory floating around is that Taylor Swift somehow influences the Chiefs' success because of her massive influence and fan base. But let's be real, the Chiefs' dynasty was already in full swing before Swift and Travis Kelce even started dating in 2023. The Chiefs had already made 5 consecutive AFC Championship appearances, been to 3 Super Bowls, and won 2 of them. So, the idea that Swift is the key to the Chiefs' success doesn't hold any weight. Here's the kicker. The Chiefs players see and hear all this nonsense. Mahomes, Kelce, Chris Jones, Justin Reid, they're all active on social media. They might not respond to every comment, but they're aware of the disrespect. People downplaying their greatness by blaming refs gets under their skin. And believe me, it only adds fuel to their fire. Come Sunday, the critics might just get a wake-up call. The Chiefs have already proven time and time again that they can block out the noise and get the job done. So, to the haters who want to keep blaming the refs, it's time to face the truth. Your teams simply aren't good enough to beat the Chiefs' dynasty. Instead of whining about it, maybe it's time to tell your team to do better next season. Speaking of doing better, one major challenge the Chiefs will face is trying to stop Saquon Barkley. We all know that Barkley will be the focal point of the Eagles' offense, and he's not an easy player to stop. While it's almost impossible to completely shut down a running back of his caliber, the Chiefs will focus on limiting his explosive runs and minimizing his overall impact. A good reference point is the 2020 AFC Championship game when the Chiefs faced off against Derrick Henry and the Titans. While they couldn't fully contain King Henry, they were able to limit his damage enough to come out on top. That's the kind of strategy the Chiefs will need to deploy against Barkley. The Chiefs' defense had a big win back in January 2020, limiting Derrick Henry to just 19 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown, which was a huge accomplishment considering Henry's insane production that season. Henry had over 1,500 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns, and in his previous 2 playoff games, he averaged 188 rushing yards per game. While the Chiefs' defense today isn't quite the same as it was 5 years ago, limiting Saquon Barkley in a similar manner is still very much possible. The key for the Chiefs will be to limit Barkley's explosive runs, possibly get up early in the game, and force Jalen Hurts to rely more on his arm. Making the Eagles one-dimensional in that way should give the Chiefs a strong advantage. However, the Chiefs' defense still faces significant challenges. A big concern is the middle of the field, particularly against tight end Dallas Goedert and receiver Devonta Smith. Goedert, especially, has been a major threat on third downs. Hurts has completed 13 of 14 passes to him this season, totaling 240 yards and 8 first downs. While A.J. Brown is obviously a top-tier receiver, the Chiefs will likely have rookie corner Trent McDuffie matched up against him. The more pressing concern is the middle of the field, where the Chiefs' defense has had issues, especially against tight ends and slot receivers. With Goedert and Smith both being excellent at moving the chains, they could cause problems for the Chiefs' defense. Another thing to watch will be the Eagles' offensive line, which is not 100% healthy. Center Cam Jurgens and guard Landon Dickerson will be playing, but both have been dealing with injuries. That could play a big role in the later stages of the game, especially with Chris Jones coming for pressure along the interior of the offensive line. Hurts has been one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL, and the Eagles are the team that throws the least in the league, meaning their passing game can be susceptible to pressure. Hurts was sacked 11 times in just 3 playoff games this year, and he struggles when facing pressure. His success rate drops significantly in those situations. Looking at the 2022 regular season, Hurts was just 14 of 22 for 150 yards, with 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 5 sacks against the Chiefs in Week 11. While the Eagles won that game, it was more due to the Chiefs' offensive mistakes. Mahomes threw an interception in the end zone, kelce fumbled inside the 15-yard line, and MVS dropped a wide-open deep pass. So, pressure on Hurts is definitely a key to success for the Chiefs' defense. As for the Eagles' signature tush-push play, it's been nearly unstoppable. But the Chiefs have faced it before and will likely focus on containing it when needed. It's not something to be overly concerned about, but it's still worth noting, especially in short yardage situations. All in all, the Chiefs will have to mix strong defensive pressure on Hurts with strategic run defense against Barkley and key matchups against the Eagles' weapons in the passing game. If they can do that and make the Eagles more one-dimensional, their chances of winning go up. The Eagles' tush-push has been nearly unstoppable this season, and despite any potential weaknesses on their interior offensive line, the Chiefs likely won't be able to completely stop it. The Eagles have converted the play about 70 to 80% of the time, which makes it extremely effective in short yardage situations. Given that no team has been able to consistently stop it, the Chiefs can't rely on neutralizing this play entirely. Special teams could play a crucial role, especially in a close game. Harrison Butker, the Chiefs' kicker, has been much more reliable than Jake Elliott of the Eagles. Elliott has been struggling with longer kicks, especially from 50-plus yards, with a disappointing 12.5% conversion rate from that range. If this game comes down to a late field goal, Butker would definitely be the more reliable option, which bodes well for the Chiefs. The return game might also be a factor, with Nico Riggio standing out for having the longest punt and kick return of any playoff returner. A big return, much like Kadarius Toney's in Super Bowl 57, could provide a significant momentum shift and even lead to a game-changing play. While the Eagles are an incredibly well-coached team with talent all over the field, the Chiefs have some key advantages going into this matchup. Patrick Mahomes has an undefeated record in domed stadiums and has been great against top passing defenses in the playoffs. The Chiefs also have a solid track record in Super Bowl rematches, with the team that won the first matchup historically winning the second as well. Andy Reid's teams are also outstanding when given extra time to prepare, and this could make a big difference in a matchup against the Eagles' defense, led by Vic Fangio. The Chiefs will need to capitalize on their edge in quarterback play and coaching. Travis Kelce will need to step up against the Eagles' zone-heavy defense, and defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo's game plan should focus on pressuring Jalen Hurts, who has struggled under pressure and is prone to taking sacks. Controlling Saquon Barkley and winning the turnover battle will also be key to the Chiefs' success. If the Chiefs can limit Barkley's impact, execute a smart game plan, and perform well in the special teams department, they should have a good shot at winning Super Bowl 58. The prediction here is a 31-27 win for the Chiefs, with Mahomes and Reid delivering a solid performance to secure a third Super Bowl title in a row for Kansas City.